If you are watching this video, you probably know about me because of my videos about Pokemon. The vast majority of videos I've ever made focus on Pokemon, so it should come as no surprise to you that Pokemon is my favorite franchise of video games. But I play quite a lot of video games that have nothing to do with Pokemon. And in fact, my favorite individual video game of all time is not a Pokemon game. So here on this MandJTV Extra channel, the channel where I can make videos about whatever, I decided to give you guys a chance to get to know me a little bit better and talk about my favorite video games of all time that have nothing to do with Pokemon. So don't forget to subscribe to this channel, especially if you want to see my Pokemon Scarlet playthrough, because this is the channel where that will occur. And since I'm not going to be ranking these games, just kind of talking about them in no particular order, let's just start with my favorite video game of all time, which is Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild. If I could erase my memory of this game so I could play it for the first time again, I would. That is how freaking amazing I feel like this game is. I was never really into Legend of Zelda prior to Breath of the Wild, so I'd never really played the all-time classics such as Ocarina of Time or Twilight Princess or Wind Waker. I had Skyward Sword in high school, but I never finished it. And then I also had Ocarina of Time on the 3DS in high school, and I was playing it on a flight home from a family trip to the UK, and I got stuck and I was on a plane with no internet, didn't have a way to look it up, like what to do next, and then I never played it again. But Breath of the Wild was coming out with the Switch, and I pre-ordered the Switch. I got it day one, so I got Breath of the Wild day one, and that game just captured me. I had played the demo at like PAX South and I was like, this seems really cool. And then I played the full game and oh my God. I really love action, adventure, exploration games. I just like to, kind of create my own adventure within the confines of a story, So like linear games absolutely are fun, but when I can kind of go anywhere and do anything, that just really, it makes me feel like I'm the character more because I'm getting to make more decisions. And Breath of the Wild is like the perfect game to do that. You can go anywhere, you can climb anything, which a lot of most open world games cannot say. The world is so vast and beautiful, and you get to kick some ass as you're exploring it. Like the combat is fun. The combat is intuitive and like not weird, and it's great. And even the piece of Breath of the Wild that I feel like gets the most flack from people who don't love the game, the weapons breaking, I like that. Yes, of course, a weapon breaking at an inopportune time is not a good thing, but like it forces you to be this kind of scavenger, You can see these bokoblins holding weapons that you want, and you're like, ooh, I'm gonna go for those because I want their weapons. You get to use a larger variety of weapons than you would if they just never broke. Plus then, you'd like get a really good weapon and then you would just use that the rest of the game. Whereas like if you have to swap and use all these different ones, it's just a lot more interesting. Plus I like games with more of a brightly colored, kind of cartoony aesthetic, Like Skyrim is an open world action adventure game that I played quite a bit of when I was in high school, but I never fell in love with it the way I fell in love with Breath of the Wild for a variety of reasons, but one of the big ones is that it's so dark and grungy and gray, It's like not as visually pleasing as the brightly colored world of Hyrule. So Breath of the Wild, I got every single shrine before I took on the final boss because I wanted the game to last as long as possible. I did a second playthrough a couple years ago where I got all the shrines. I don't think I fought the final boss yet because like I never really cared as much about the final boss. I cared about the journey. And I've started a third playthrough relatively recently. It's just, the game is a freaking masterpiece. I really cannot wait for Tears of the Kingdom. I freaked out when they announced they were making the sequel, 3 years ago now or something ridiculous? So I'm very, very excited for that. That's gonna be my 2023 game of the year. Like I already know. But in addition to Breath of the Wild, there are other open world action adventure games that I really like because I just like that genre. Breath of the Wild is the best one, but there are some others that I like a lot as well. One of those that I feel like flew under the radar is Immortals Phoenix Rising. This game takes a lot from Breath of the Wild. You've got Icarus's wings or Daedalus's wings that are like the equivalent of like the paraglider. The climbing is basically identical, but instead it's in like a Greek mythology world. That's everything. Everything is Greek mythology, and it's a lot of fun. The combat is like really enjoyable. You know, you can aim arrows sometimes, which is fun. The weapons don't break, but you get different ones with like different effects, so you still kind of swap them out a bit. The game is genuinely very funny as well. I learned about it because AlphaRad made like a brand deal video for it, where it was like a dedicated video. He played it, they paid him to do it, and then it came out like 2 months later. And I played it right when it came out, and it was fantastic. It was a rough period in my life, and it really helped me get through that, because I just, you know, played it basically when I was done with work until I went to bed. The world you explore is interesting as well. It's not as interesting as Hyrule. It's kind of like an island divided into like certain biome segments, but it's still like really pretty to look at. Like I said, cartoon, bright colors, like it's a really fun game. If you liked Breath of the Wild, I think you would like Immortals Phoenix Rising. It's not gonna beat Breath of the Wild, but it's a lot of fun. The next open world action adventure games that I'm a big fan of are the Horizon games, Horizon Zero Dawn and Horizon Forbidden West. I did not play Horizon Zero Dawn right when it came out. I got it like a bit later and I sucked at it immediately and I kind of got frustrated and then I didn't play it for a while. But then they announced Forbidden West and I was like, okay, that looks really awesome. So I got a PS5 and I was like, all right, I'm finally gonna play Horizon Zero Dawn. I started on story difficulty and then I was like, okay, this is too easy. So I put it on easy and that was how I played the rest of the game. The Horizon games aren't as good with exploration as Breath of the Wild. You can't climb as much, and it's supposed to be like the real world, like specifically part of America. So the variance in biomes is not fantastical, but it is gorgeous. It's beautiful, natural beauty. You can go anywhere basically immediately. I mean, you can't climb everything. There's certain climbing spots, but still, it's like, it is a lot of fun. But what really made me fall in love with it is the story. The games take place 1,000 or so years in the future, and like society is not what it was, you know, people are back in tribes, but then there's these big, really awesome machines roaming the landscape that all look like animals, basically. And you're like, how did this happen? And so as you play through Zero Dawn, you are uncovering the mystery of what happened. And it is just, the environmental storytelling in that game is better than any game I've ever played. And then Forbidden West just continues the story. It's like, okay, here's what happened, now what? And Forbidden West its story isn't as strong simply due to the fact that like you don't have as much mystery to uncover, but the game itself is better. The combat is better. There's more really awesome machines to fight, and it's just, they are fantastic games. I will say the combat is weird. I wouldn't call it clunky, but it's odd. It's basically all ranged, but like you're right up next to them. Like melee combat against the machines. If you're against like human enemies, melee combat works a lot better. But against the machines, melee combat I've found to be almost useless. And so you're doing ranged combat up close, which I'm not stellar at. I was able to beat Forbidden West on normal, but it is like the combat is just, it's a bit odd. It's more complicated, you know, you're supposed to use like a combination of these various weapons and traps and stuff. So it's a bit weird. It definitely takes some time to get used to. It's not what I think the strongest points of the game is. Like I said, I think the strongest points is the story and just the world building. Not just like the beautiful graphics, but like the different cultures of the different tribes and like how they work and like the cool outfits everyone's wearing, like masterclass in world building. Another open world action adventure game that is a significant departure from the other ones we've discussed is Just Cause 3. This game is just chaos, and that's what makes it so fun. If you've never played the Just Cause games, you play as Rico Rodriguez, who's basically an action movie star, but real. You're basically playing through a preposterous action movie. You are incentivized to blow up as much as possible. And just some of the physics are just hilarious. Like if you are in free fall, you can use your grappling hook toward the ground to speed yourself up toward the ground, and that will make you land safely. If you don't use the grappling hook, you'll die. But if you grappling hook toward the ground, you're fine. And it's just, oh, it's fantastic. It's kind of a sandbox game-ish, but it's like, you're just going around to like these military bases to like destroy all their assets where they're shooting at you and like blow up as much as possible. There's some missions that have some specific things. And it's just, oh, it's just good, goofy fun. And despite the fact that shooting is a big mechanic, and if you didn't know this about me, I am completely useless at shooter games. I couldn't hit the broadside of a barn with a bazooka. Didn't play them as a kid. Never got the muscle memory. I suck at them. But just cause I played with mouse and keyboard, so I can, just kind of like click on their heads, and like NPC enemies are a lot dumber than people, so they're easier to hit. It's just chaos, but it's fun chaos. It's amazing. It's better than Just Cause 4, which was a bit of a letdown. Just Cause 4, it kind of changed like the military base mechanics to make it like less interesting, and they added like weather, which was like okay, but like They leaned more into the sandbox piece of things rather than the story. And like the story isn't complicated, you're just trying to take out this horrible dictator. But like they made it like, I don't know. I think Just Cause 3, I haven't played 1 or 2, but I believe Just Cause 3 is the best of the series. And then the last open world action adventure game that I'm a huge fan of is Spider-Man, the recent one. It's the only Spider-Man game I've played. I know there were ones that came out a while ago people liked, but I've only played that one and Miles Morales. Miles Morales is like the same thing, and it's like, this isn't as interesting just because it's like it could have been DLC, I feel like. But the main Spider-Man game, you get to be Spider-Man. What else is there to say? You get to swing around Manhattan wherever you want. That's dope. It's not a PlayStation exclusive anymore. I believe it came out on PC recently. But on the topic of PlayStation exclusives, there's a couple I want to talk about. The first is just the Uncharted series as a whole. The ones with Nathan Drake, I didn't play Uncharted Legacy. I don't know, the one with Chloe. Just didn't appeal to me. Like, I like Nathan. Those games are fun. They don't have as much replay value, I feel like, because the gameplay is fun. It is a lot of shooting, which, as I've mentioned, is hard for me. But just like the story and the charm, it's just like the games as a whole, like together. It's like, oh, the Uncharted series, I have fond memories of playing that series and like just the story with that. And the movie kind of sucked. I kind of knew it was gonna suck because they just changed too much. Maybe I would have liked it more if I hadn't played the games, but anyways. But the biggest hitter of PlayStation exclusives, God of War. I never played the original ones. They were rated M, and I was a child. Plus, I hadn't really heard of them. Like, I was not the target audience of the marketing for those. So how I came to play the most recent one, where they swapped to Norse mythology focus, is it came out. I saw some video of gameplay, and I see Kratos throw his axe and then summon it back to his hand like Thor. And I went and bought the game and a PlayStation 4 that day. Like that's the coolest thing ever. And because of that impulsive decision, I got to play a freaking masterpiece. It's not open world, but I don't think it needs to be. The combat is fun. The story and graphics, like the story is like enthralling. The graphics are beautiful. It just hits you in the emotions. And like, just the fighting is awesome. As I've mentioned, the axe, but then you just get to be like, raw, I'm angry, and then just punch the crap out of things. That won game of the year it came out, and it fully deserved it. Ragnarok comes out pretty soon. As of filming this, I am super excited for that. We'll see if I beat it before Scarlet and Violet come out, but if I don't, I'll come back to it. Let's shift gears a little bit, and we're gonna talk about some Nintendo games that are my all-time favorites. The first is Mario Kart, specifically 8 Deluxe. I had Double Dash as a little kid. Me and my brother would play it. And for some reason, like, somehow I ended up as the player 2, despite being older. There's like those memes about how the older sibling is always player 1, and I had to be player 2. I don't know if I just like the pressure of controlling the car was too much, but I ended up being the one who would use the items and like try to punch anybody who came next to us. And I think because I wasn't doing most of the driving, I didn't fall as in love with that game. But then I got Mario Kart Wii. I played the heck out of that. That was a lot of fun. Then Mario Kart 8 happened. I got a Wii U for Christmas one year and played Mario Kart 8. And that was like, okay, this is the definitive Mario Kart. The first HD one with the most fun tracks. Like the controls I feel like are the most intuitive. And I, with some help from friends, got a gold trophy and 3 stars on every single cup, every single CC, including 200. And then Mario Kart 8 Deluxe happened. It's like, okay, all right, Now it's the definitive Mario Kart. And I wasn't as into it immediately because I had played Mario Kart 8 relatively recently, but as the years have gone on, like, man, the game is just, the game is a masterpiece. And I'm like quite good at it. Like, if I tried to play online with people who like really are into Mario Kart, I wouldn't do as great. But very few of the people I know in real life can beat me at Mario Kart consistently. And actually, relatively recently, I finished getting gold trophy, 3 stars, every single cup, every single CC, including 200. And I was like, why don't I have all of the wheels and glider unlocked yet? How does this work? And I looked it up. I had to get to 5,000 coins, and I was like 4,700. So I got that after a few weeks. Apparently I had to get 10,000 in Mario Kart 8, which explains why I never got it. That got me the golden wheels, I believe. Maybe it was the glider. Whichever one it was, the other one you had to beat all the staff ghosts. And so I just had never done time trials. It never appealed to me as much. So I went through and I beat all the staff ghosts. So Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, huge fan of that. The booster course pass is fun. At first I was like, why are you doing DLC instead of a new Mario Kart game? And then they were like, oh, the DLC is gonna double the amount of courses in the game. And I'm like, oh, all right, okay, take my money. So yeah, Mario Kart 8 Deluxe, I freaking love Mario Kart. I'm good at it, it's fun. It's just a great game. And then on the topic of Mario Odyssey. I want to replay Mario Odyssey. I haven't really played it since it came out, but that is probably my favorite Mario platformer. It was the first Mario platformer that I beat. I had played some Galaxy when I was younger, but not a whole lot. It's so good. It's beautiful. The capture mechanic is so fun. Just openly exploring. It's kind of like mini open worlds, and I like it when things are open world. And I appreciated it even more when I tried the older ones. I got Mario 3D All-Stars, and then I, of course, started with Mario 64, and y'all, I hope I don't get too much flack for this, but that game sucks. Like, I understand it was revolutionary, and I feel like if I had played it not long after it had come out, I would have been like, this is awesome. But comparing it to Odyssey, it's like, this is garbage. Like, the controls are bad, and it's too hard. And I don't like it when games are too hard, okay? I am not someone who gets great satisfaction from overcoming a really difficult video game challenge. It's like, I'm playing to have fun, to kick some butt, and like, just like have a great time doing an interactive activity. So 64 was too hard. I wasn't able to beat it. And then I moved on to Sunshine. And within an hour of that game, I was like, this sucks. Like, the spray mechanic is awful. The spray in 3D space at the same time as you're trying to move your body. And it's like, if you spray, you like can't move at all. And it was like, I did the first boss fight against like Petey Piranha, and I was like, that was not fun. That was just annoying. Galaxy is quite fun. I haven't beat it yet. I can beat it. I just haven't gotten around to it. Galaxy is fun. I'll give Galaxy some credit, but Odyssey, of all the 3D platformers, is just, it's the best one. As for the 2D Marios, I've never been as into those, but I will say I have a ton of nostalgia for New Super Mario Bros. The one that was on the DS, I have the guidebook for that. I want to say I got all the gold star coins like on every level in that. I played a bunch of that. That one is a lot of fun. I don't know if I'd be as into it now, but like I have a bunch of nostalgia for it. It was my first real Mario game, and I just thought it was excellent. Now I want to talk about a couple indie games, just two really. The first one is Astroneer. This is a game that my brother found not long after it came out in early access back in, I believe, like Christmas time of 2016. And we played that so much. It's basically like a space exploration game. You are on this planet, you can terraform, you're trying to build this base to find resources to build things and like shuttles to go to other planets. You're trying to dig to the center of the planet. It's just fun. I can't fully explain what gets me so into it because there's not as much like adventure. It's more just like you're trying to build stuff and like make your base better and like, I don't know, if you give me missions and milestones, I can get really into it. Open-ended games where there's no mission, like just plain sandbox games, I have a lot more trouble getting really into those, like Minecraft. I like Minecraft, it's not one of my favorite games of all time. I have no interest in playing it if I'm not playing it with friends. And even when I'm playing it with friends, I'm like, all right, let's work on beating the game because I need something to work on. And Astroneer gives you missions to work on, like collect this, build a base on every planet, because I think there's like 7 maybe 6, that you can travel to throughout the solar system. I've gotten a lot of fun out of that game. As I mentioned, I played it early access for a good chunk around Christmas of 2016. The multiplayer was super buggy. You'd just be driving a rover and then you would just yeet 1,000 feet into the air. And then they came out with version 1.0 in early 2019 and played the crap out of that, beat the main story. And then earlier this summer, when I took my break from uploading for about 2 months, I played so much Astroneer. I'd been playing it earlier in the year. Me and my brother had started another file, like kind of working together. And you know, he was traveling a lot throughout the summer, so he wasn't able to play with me because he just wasn't at his gaming PC. So eventually I was like, you know what, I'm starting my own solo file. And I put so much time into that to the point where I finished everything to do in the game. Like all the missions, the limited time cosmetic thing, because they came out with trains. And then it became open-ended, and I was like, I have nothing else to do. I have to get back to work now. But yeah, Astroneer, fantastic. Another space game where you build a base and stuff that I have a lot of fondness for is Satisfactory. This game is still in early access, but this is a game that I'm very fond of, not because I love the game itself. I mean, it is fun, but I've never felt like a strong desire to like start my own solo Satisfactory file. I play it with friends, my brother, and then 2 other friends who are brother and sister. We call ourselves the Factory Board, and they got this gavel for me. If you've ever seen me use it in videos, let me get this to focus. John Michael Groth Factory Board Gavel Holder, Fixit Incorporated. Fixit is the fictional company in the game. They got that for me as a Christmas gift, which is was very sweet. I'm gonna hold on to that forever. And we just like, whenever we can, we like hop on and we work on like playing Satisfactory together. We're running around the alien world, building factories, trying to reach milestones. Somehow we've done like 4 or 5 like different worlds. We've like never reached the final tier with like nuclear energy. And we're like, let's just start a fresh one. You know, it's an early access, new updates come out, you know. But like that's a game I'm really fond of. I think mainly just because of the fun I've got to have with friends in it. And then the final game I want to talk about doesn't really fit into the category of like indie or Nintendo or like PlayStation or open world action adventure, but it is a game I highly recommend, especially if you have a significant other, and that is It Takes Two. It came out last year. You might have heard of it because I'm pretty sure it won Game of the Year. And it's a co-op platformer. There's this couple that's going through a divorce, and then they get turned into little dolls and then have to find their way back to like turn themselves back to normal through all these magical, mystical things, you know, like giant toys or like a war between squirrels and wasps. And like the 2 characters do different things, you know, it's co-op, you know, like in the versus the wasp, like the guy has the like flammable honey gun, so he sprays what can be lit, and then the girl shoots the igniter at it to blow it up. It is an entertaining game. It is a masterpiece. It is so fun to play with someone else. Me and my girlfriend played through it and had a fantastic time. I highly recommend it. I think it works really well with significant others, but if you've got like a sibling or a friend who wants to play it, like please try your best to find someone to play it with. I highly recommend it. I will warn you, the elephant scene is very disturbing. I don't know why that was in the game. If you could remove that from the game would be perfect. And then the last game I want to talk about is just kind of Lego Star Wars in general, mainly the original. A lot of it's nostalgia, but the original Lego Star Wars was just, God, I had so much fun with that game. I had a lot of fun with Skywalker Saga too. I don't know if it's gonna go down as one of my all-time favorite games, but I just wanted to mention those. I didn't have that on my outline, I just remembered them. But like those, Lego Star Wars is just a lot of fun. And those are some of my favorite video games. If there's any recommendations for video games that you have that kind of fit the vibe of some of the ones I've been talking about, let me know down in the comments below. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't, especially if you want to see my Scarlet playthrough, which will be on this channel, either the day of or the day after the games came out. And that's it. Thanks for watching.